All right, we are back. That is a weird new beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I signed in StreamYard for the first time today in like 2 weeks, and it's just all different. So, with me is my co-host, is always Zach Donathan. And this week we have a special guest, Matt Olson from
Hey
Mod
guys.
Speed Shops, Mod Live Media, and now you have a brick and mortar mod shop.
Yeah, it's modhobbies.com, which will revert back to modspeedshop.com, but kind of just to separate the kind of the parts and pro shop side to actual hobby shop side. But still, we're still very much dedicated to the racing side of the hobby.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so are you in the same location? Are you building a shop in the same location, or is it a whole new layout for you?
Yes and no. So it's the same Anaheim Business Center that we're in, but now we have. So I'm in a loft right now. This is in my original shop of
Yep.
when I opened Mod. But it's like in a warehouse, very industrial. And then the Mod Hobbies is at street frontage. So basically, as you enter in the complexes, we're right there right when you turn in. Mod Hobbies is right as you enter. So it's got street, right there, street signage type of thing. But just, with many people that don't know, it's more expensive to
Yes.
get that than when you're kind of in the back in the cut. So we have two shops right now. The front has kind of operated. We've had it for about 2 years now, I want to say. And we've had we do some stuff out of the back shop, but the front shop is getting totally revamped, laid out. It's 1,500 square feet altogether, because it has a back warehouse portion to it.
Okay.
And a lot of good things. So essentially, our shop in the back still has inventory too. Um, the front shop with the back warehouse area will kind of be doing kind of this. It'll shift
Oh,
because right now Mod Live Media is up there in the warehouse section, but it'll end up shifting to the back. Is what our thoughts are essentially.
okay. Yeah, Mod Live Media. That amount of equipment has to take up a significant amount of room. What is it? 8 OGO bags when it's all packed away.
Yeah, there's different setups for different events. We can do like the Clash setup is about six bags for Clash plus the printers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We can do a pretty good coverage where it's like a crew of two. I can do it
Okay.
with three bags. No, I'm sorry. So it's 5 bags for like Clash coverage that we did earlier this year. 3 bags with just kind of not the whole printers and everything like that. Still really good coverage. So we've gotten pretty compartmentalized where we're able to do a pretty good stream. And then yeah, when we go, obviously a huge coverage like a nationals or a worlds, it gets pretty cumbersome on the amount of gear that you need. But we've got the scissor lift is up there, the perch for putting the camera on. So we've got, actual structures for the cameramen to be on for some of
Okay.
those outdoor events and some even indoor. We have the perch, I call it. It's about a 6 foot scaffolding, aluminum scaffolding. They're like $5,000. I picked it up in off of OfferUp. I think it was in like a pallet sale for something, and the guy sold it to me for like $1,100. But yeah,
Didn't
so
you bring
you
that?
you you pick up stuff over the
Don't
years.
don't you bring that to the fifth scale event at Silver State?
Yep, yep. That's the aluminum perch that you'll see there. We just took it out to FTC. We were out there for the 8 scale race, and then we were also just at Hobby Action
Yep.
for the Desert Classic, which went awesome. Some of the best racing I've seen there in a very long time. out there for the Desert Classic, and we had it out there, so we were doing some dual camera coverage. So that was pretty fun. I always like when we can do the double perspective is always pretty sweet.
Yep. I really enjoy the coverage you guys bring. Every company brings it's slightly different. Like I enjoy your coverage I enjoy it when I'm there, especially. But I also enjoy Elite. RC Racing TV has their own flavor, which is awesome. Everybody brings something different to the table. But Mod Live Media, it's just the interviews at the end, the hustling around, it's just awesome. Cameraman Chris does an excellent job. Megan does an excellent job when Chris is racing. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good, I call it pretty much like a family.
Yeah.
All these people have been with me and I've known them for a long time. That's what kind of our group is made up of. I met, obviously I've known Chris for a very long time actually before he actually worked for Mod. He was a long time racer. He's been in the community. The guy's a whiz on just knowing paint schemes, and who
Yeah.
he's following has a ton of information, and he's relaying that back to us, and statistics and stuff. So when he's filming, and he knows where it is, we work good together. Then obviously, my fiance Megan, she didn't know anything about RC. I kind of just let her into it, but taught her, over a few events, and then she's like, "Hey," she tells me, she's like, "You're doing it wrong," and I'm like, "I started this," like,
Yeah.
so she's gotten good at it. We've got Jason Bollinger,
Yep.
bar none. I don't care who
He's
it
the best.
is.
The
He's
best.
the best. He's the best. Is like I don't know, and I've seen all the coverages. Whether it doesn't matter. He is the best. He's his own entity. For Jay Bollinger Photo, I call
Yep.
him Shoe. But he worked, for the magazine that we both worked for a long time, Extreme,
Yep.
and so he learned a lot there for photography, for a lot with, studio shots and different stuff. And then he's also done everything from, weddings to cosplay stuff to full
Yep.
size, to bands and the lighting and just what he has. And then also, not only that, is like his normal job is like touching up photos, so
Okay.
you'll see him, you know, whizzing through the photos, making them glamour shots, and
Yeah.
so he's got an eye for it, and bar none the best that I know,
Yep.
in anything. So the guy's amazing and makes us look, that much better. I didn't consider photography, that big of a deal, until we did the worlds with him.
Yeah.
And not that we would never want to bring him out, but he lives in Kentucky.
Right.
There's logistics for flying people out. We have never really had a ton of budget. And then after his world's coverage, for the beginning, my eyes were open just looking at the analytics and just like, man, this drives more people to the live. It drives more people to the site. It's way better, with the photography. So I'm like,
Yes.
I'm gonna find the budget to get you to events.
Right.
So a lot of times we fund it ourselves, or the people with the waffles and stuff like that. They help us out a ton, and then bringing on, and that was also at the worlds that we had it, when we had
Hmm.
designated announcers,
Yep.
and I try to do it, and I'm okay at it, I would say. But
You're
I'm
good.
always kind of shuffling around, and then I
Hmm.
I transfer it over to the announcer. But having a designated guy to just talk and like bringing you on, and everything like that, it brings a different dynamic. So I'm like, well, now I need to find budget for that too. So it's a really good crew. We've kind of figured out the formula over the years. But what I have figured out is that it takes good people. Everybody's like, "Hey, what camera do you use? What is this? What program is it?" What you should be asking is, what bags do you put stuff in? Who do you have
Right.
working for you? Because it starts actually there. It starts at the the very first thing of what are you packing everything into? It's not, what camera do you use is the same question as how fast does your RC car go? At the hobby, it's the exact same thing, because there is so much more beyond it. People think it's a Starlink, it's a one
Oh
camera,
man,
and it's a computer, and that's what people believe that it is, and
internet.
it's
Oh my
100
god,
100% not what it is. And you'll never get around good people, so you have to surround yourself by good people. It takes a crew of 4 to 5 to do a really good stream. And we've been happy that the community has been supporting, and they've been enjoying it. So
right?
all in all, we've come a long way, when it was just me.
Yeah,
And I realized it can't be just me anymore.
it's hard.
um, so
Jacob,
it's yeah.
yeah, sorry. Jacob says, "Good job announcing and not losing your voice last weekend at the Desert Classic."
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. It was pretty nuts. Like, I at the Desert Classic, I was popped in for David, and there was a race, man, and I
Oh,
lost it. I'm like, it was so cool. And some people like it. They're like, man, Matt really gets
yeah,
into it, and I love racing. I'm a racer
absolutely.
at heart, and I love to do it. And I like to get out there on the track. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to do it as much as what I would like to do. But as of recent years, like the Talon, the Henleys and everything, Talon helped me out with the car. And, ever since then, everybody's like, hey, um, uh, I got a rig here ready for you, 2-wheel drive
Right.
buggy, and, just grab it. And I actually think, if, even when you're an announcer, or you're somebody on the crew, um, if you race a car, actually, I prefer them to,
Mm-hmm.
when you're on staff, because you have a better connection with what's going on for everybody else out there, how the track is reacting, what it's like, the changing of the variations that are out there. And that's good material that you're able to, relay to the people, so that they feel like that they're there. And that's kind
Absolutely.
of, it's very cool of when I did do it. I'm like, wow. And people will cheer you on. They're like, go Matt, or go Zach, cameraman Chris, oh, you did good. So it's pretty cool. But having a personal relationship with the race, and not just a viewer, but as a participant, is actually very, very, beneficial.
Right. I am actually building a car for the Vintage Clash for that reason. I'm building the re-release team car, and I'm having so much fun building that. But I do you know how many parts are in those cars?
No,
There's
I've never built one.
there's so many parts. So I remember, I vividly remember when the B4 came out, and I opened the box and I say, "Where's the rest of it?" And it took me 2.5 hours to build. I'm like, this can't be the whole car, because it was like half the parts is like a B3 or a team car and all that. So I got a slider almost ready to go for it, but yeah, I'll be racing at the Vintage Clash as well. So, um, yeah, back to your sorry, I keep moving back and forth, but back to your brick and mortar. So, how hard is that to keep your online inventory and your in-stock inventory? Have you dealt with this situation yet? As you're ringing somebody up, somebody buys it online yet, or that kind of scenario?
Well, luckily, we're not well, as of right now, we're not an A main. We're not super huge, so we don't have a ton of flow of traffic for one SKU item, per se.
Okay,
And you hope that you have more. But so running into that, where, like, at the same time somebody buys the last thing, I don't think that's going to be a problem. But our hobby shop and online shop will actually be one. So
okay,
anything, everything's going to be inventoried, through the shop and through the online shop. As we sell in the shop, it'll talk to the online shop, because they're one and the same, and it'll take it out of inventory,
cool.
for those items. But I was talking to, actually, Angie earlier today. I was talking to Larry Tom, out a couple days ago from Hobby Action, and just those guys. And it was one of the things of like, you've got so much more respect, for the people that do this,
Right.
for a brick and mortar shop than what
Mhm.
than what you would imagine.
Yeah.
Um,
Can
from
you
just
elaborate
the
on that, Matt?
Yeah, so just the just to go into it, when just even getting the building, that's something in and of itself. And have this overhead of rent that you have to pay every month. But you're looking at a blank slate. You have to get your cabinets, you got to get your pegs. Each peg is about $1, and I think per
Mhm.
board it was 170 pegs.
Wow.
So I think I have 10 boards in there, 11 boards plus sliders now. So you're talking $1,500 just in pegs.
Yeah.
You've got, each case, I've got at least 4 cases in there. Each of those brand new are about $400 a pop. Um, and, then you got a podium stand, that's another four. You've got your point of sale system, that's about 1,000. You've got your computer system that you need alongside your point of sale system to do your ordering and everything. That's another 1,000. You haven't even gotten to your inventory yet, or your security. You're talking $2,000 for a good gate. You're talking another 1,000 in security cameras. So before anything's said and done, you probably have about 5 to 10 grand just in infrastructure,
Right.
to get it to where you could sell a wheel nut.
Yeah.
Like that's really what it is. And it's not only just the physical side of it, it's the intellectual side of it, where you got to
Yep.
build the website, you got to do the inventory, you got to put in the UPC codes, you got to do a lot of that, um, to even sell a product online, or to take that widget and to put it in a package and
Yes.
leave, or somebody to walk in and you've got all those dollars that are just sitting up there and you can't eat this stuff. So I have a few different little businesses.
Yeah.
I have Mod, where we do the parts side of it, where um you have your MOQs for stuff, you get it in, it's kind of small, it's manageable. You
Hmm.
put the thing on the website, it's one thing, but honestly it's easier than what a brick and mortar is.
Right.
Because you don't have to have employees, you don't really have, like, you could do it out of your house,
Hmm.
sometimes. You don't have to have insurance, or you don't have to have security. You're not really on any map. So um I have much, much respect for any brick and mortar that there is, whether it be
Right.
a hobby shop or Target.
Right.
Um, it is very much so something that is a dying breed, um, because the barrier to entry is large, and you have to, and it's 16-hour days,
Right.
Hmm.
nonstop, with no return in sight, until people find out about you. So how long can that bag of money last until the weight of of what's happening to you collapses it.
Right.
um so you've got that on it, and that's where I'm at right now, where luckily I have some experience with different things, and I've got really good contacts. People know me in the industry.
Hmm.
We were able to get these accounts pretty, where they're like, hey Matt, no problem, we'll get you set up. But for a lot of those people starting out, where they might not have that, with the years behind them in a different facet but kind of in the same realm, it's tough. So it's much respect for anybody that ever does it, because it's not easy,
No.
and it's something where I'm like, holy mackerel, this is a lot. But I would say what it does do more than anything is it actually, sets you to a different standard, from your organizational standpoint, to what you're able to offer, to, like, you guys are the guys to go to, much kind of like what A-Main is built. They
Yeah.
started out of a garage, now they're potentially going to become the biggest distributor for RC goods that are out there. So, a lot of places start in a garage. You got Apple, Microsoft, a lot of these guys.
And even on a smaller scale, Dollar Hobby started in a garage similar to the way A Main started. They're not as big, not nearly, but they're still very successful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Andrew,
So,
Andrew Clark with a quick question for Matt. Are you going to stock outdrives for the 22X4 anymore?
so I need to see what's around or if we can break apart kits, to be honest with you.
Okay.
With TLR's change,
Mm-hmm.
we don't know. We're very much like in the community, um, and we try and keep our finger on the pulse.
Yep.
And for us to do an MOQ, because MIP manufactures all of our puck stuff,
Yep.
I have to do 300 to 500 outdrives.
Yep.
So it's 250 kits, per se, if we just did them in pairs. Um, so are we going to sell those? And then we're looking at, okay, my break even point is 125,
Yes.
and then after that is profit.
Yep.
Um, so that's what's difficult to say, because we saw, obviously, Horizon has dismantled their pro team, and they have very, very good vehicles. I've driven those low-C cars; they're amazing.
I enjoy
Um,
the scale.
and the fifth scale is amazing. Yeah, we're still hugely into that. But just looking at their 10th scale realm, I don't know what that noise is. I don't know what that was terrible.
Could have been fun.
Um, okay. Um, Looking at their 10 scale side, I see racing as promotion and
Mhm.
advertising. Um, and I think that they've pulled back from that.
Yep.
And maybe the community has too. When Thomas was running the, the program for them, they
Yeah.
would be 30 to 40% of the field, that was out there.
And he
And now
did
I
so
think
much.
he did a lot for them. And
Hmm.
then, I think I saw Elite's little data graph that they had
Hmm.
at the INS
INS.
race, and it was like 2%,
Yeah.
that they had out there.
Yep.
So for us, it's hard for us to make products for 2%, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
So it's, not that I don't love TLR, because I do very much so. I love Horizon. I love all those guys. But
Hmm.
if there's nobody racing the stuff, we're a niche within a niche within a niche for what
Yes.
we do. And if there's nobody really running it, it's hard for us to sell the stuff.
Yeah.
So,
You know, I do have a question for you, and this might be inside baseball for a lot of people. But if you want to order from, let's say I open up a hobby shop in Minnesota, and if I want Horizon to be my distributor, I have to order X amount from them initially. I have to have a legitimate storefront. It can't be in an industrial, or I don't know if that's still the deal, but it has to be commercially available. You have to have legitimate hours, all that stuff. Does Horizon still have that very large rule set?
yeah, I don't know what can and can't be said, but there are rules. There are minimums that you have to do, but all of them have that. A main has the same thing.
I think
Um,
HRP is the only one that doesn't.
yeah, I'm gonna get an account with them very soon. Like I said, I don't want to divulge any sort of numbers
Yeah.
that have been told, because I don't know what, they'd be like, "Hey, Matt, boom, shutting down your accounts
Yeah.
from this live stream."
Yep.
But yeah, all distributors, as far as I know, have like an initial buy-in
Right.
of what you need to do, and they vary between them. None of them are really the same.
Right.
Um, so yeah, there's an initial cost, and I get it. These guys are like, "Hey, we're going to give you this discount, and we want you to carry X amount of percent." of your stuff in your shop, and then sometimes they have minimums that you have to keep monthly
Yep.
with them and money spending. So you keep the account, they know that you're selling their stuff. So it's cumbersome. And I was, Larry, Tom, and I are pretty close. And then the Hoosiers, the Henleys were pretty close. But I was, I have a fireside chat kind of with Larry, and and he was, just kind of telling me how he got started and everything like that, and what these guys go through, even with getting their accounts, and hobby action is gicrominous.
Yes.
I won't say anything like that, but to divulge the full conversation, but just what these guys have to go through to even do business, is massive. So my hats go off to all these shops and hobby shops, and that's why anytime you lose a shop and you lose a track and you lose this is all the man hours and the time and the money and the energy and the promotion is gone. So definitely support your local shop,
Yeah.
support your local hobby shop, because when it's gone, it's an encyclopedia for the RC industry that goes away forever. And
It
it's
is.
kind of like a little ball of light that goes away for all of us. And I think that's what we kind of lost with OCRC down here
Yes.
in SoCal. That I help out at Huckleberry, and Score, that they've got an on-road track and an off-road track.
Mhm.
And they've been kind of our next little ball of light down here to really help get people back into it. But, till we're getting, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday racing at over 100 entries for club
Yeah.
racing, that's tough.
Yeah. Sean says it looks like Zach's frozen or asleep. So
Just listening.
I do have a question for Zach and also a question for you, Matt. We'll start with Zach. So have you tried getting your leads into like a main and whatnot? And is it just seem to be too much to do?
Well, I have talked to some reps and in person, and they seem very interested, and that is where the conversation ends. So,
That's awesome. Do you ever figure out the Amazon store?
no, Amazon. So if you don't have an Amazon store and you want to set one up, just take 200 hours and throw it in the trash. Because and yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's the worst back end I've ever had to deal with. The front end works great. It's
Yeah.
marvelous, but like the back end, like quite literally just stops working all the time and like crashes and
Oh,
is like from the 90s.
yeah.
So
S-
I don't know.
Same question for you, Matt, because I mean, you had the backing of MIP and whatnot, but mod itself, I mean, it's grown over the years, but it started out as such a small company making a couple little things or maybe a couple of fifth scale things. Is it harder for you to get into the larger online hobby shops, or is it just simple? Because I'm not sure about that because I'm not a small business owner of any kind.
Yeah, we don't have a ton of distributors. I think for one of the only ones for fifth scale would be DDM,
Hmm.
but they've scaled back a little bit. We have a couple shops. We really only deal with hobby shops. So we have Hoosier,
Yeah.
Hobby Action, Coyote will order from us, SDRC. We'll have shops that come to us that want to carry the stuff. Um, A-Main has approached us, in conversation, um, to get it done, but I think that personally, the business that they would give us would probably tank a lot of our inventory, which might not be a bad thing, but you give up, Zach will know this, you give up a lot of percentage with it.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I'll throw a number out there. You're giving up 50 to 60% margin for them, so that then they can distribute it to, a hobby shop, so they can make, 30 to 40% on it per se. Um, and but essentially you have to build it into your pricing structure,
Mhm.
that amount, and then you're still able to make it. So at the end of the day, too, how it'll work out is a lot of times the distributors, and then the distributors act sometimes as their own hobby, online store, where they make the full percentage on it.
Yep.
And that's, they'll be making more margin on it doing that than you'll actually be selling it to them for. um
Mhm.
and so it's a, nothing against them and nothing against
No
anything.
business.
It's business. But for us, we don't do the numbers, when we're very boutique, for the puck systems and stuff that we do. That if people want it, they come and kind of seek us out to get it. And then as the creators of it, and Zach will know this, you're able to make the margins on it to keep your lights on, per se. So if you do go to a distributor, um, you want them to be doing buku
Yeah.
numbers with you, and that you're able to keep up with that. But if you're not set up to do those numbers, I probably wouldn't do it.
Right.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah.
Because so to elaborate on that, so the numbers, Matt, I think you're referring to as quantity, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know, so if you have a machine that can run like 100 parts an hour or something,
Yeah.
and A main's buying like a full week's worth of time on that machine
Hmm.
to stock their shop, then you can't make product for the retail customer that wants to come buy it from you.
Yep.
Which then leads into a lead time or an out of stock problem, depending on like how your model's set up, and then you have a serious problem. And that's something that I've faced for a long time and still face a little bit. It's not as bad as, but like we have very large accounts that take thousands of products a year. So you have to figure out how to make thousands of products a year and get them, just for the one company, and
Yep.
then also make it so that you don't have a 12+ week lead time on your products.
It's tough. And also a lot of people don't realize. So Matt was talking about his minimum of ordering out drives. So let's say it's 500 total, 250 pair. Well, if he were to order 1,000 pair, man, that price would be so much cheaper. But that's a big risk. It should be. Do I
It's
need to
not.
get you in touch with people to where it would be?
It's
'Cause the thing is, so let's say I make a motor mount. I'm not gonna say for who or what, but I make a motor mount, and they really only need 500 pairs. But the amount it cuts when they order 1,000 pairs is so much more worth it to them that they'll order 1,000 pairs at a time, because so 500 has a 1.2 multiplier on it on a quote sheet, to where 1,000 has a 1. 5,000 is 0.85, 10,000 is 0.80. That's the way the majority of this works, because I'm in manufacturing.
Yeah, I think in the real, for us, even at a, 250 or 500,
Yep.
that's low for a lot of these guys. Even a
Very low.
thousand is
Yeah.
low. Once you
Hmm.
maybe get into the 5 or 10,000, they may be like, okay, we can get you a major cut here, because then they'll just do it up, because the major time and what you're kind of paying for is the setup time on the machines. They have to
Yes.
actually physically put somebody there. Hey, this is
Yep.
your, this is what it is, and get it out there. But you we only do stuff in small quantities, because racing is like, it's what's your favorite, favorite flavor of candy, this weekend.
Yeah.
And, to put it in perspective, because all these guys, like for instance, Team Associated, you know, B6.1, point 2, point 3, point 4, B7, they're probably going to be doing something soon. The
I
trucks, the short courses. So you do all this stuff, and then next thing you know, they got a little bit different bone size. They got a new arm, they got a new block, they got a new this, and it changes everything. So we
right.
can't run 5 to 10,000 of something like for a Trax to
Sure.
Slash, that the thing's from 1982,
Yeah.
and keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because, and then on the other part of it is there's only, there's not 10,000 racers that are out there,
No.
and if they get aftermarket, they expect it to like last forever or something like that. They think that it's like, because it's not OEM, like it's obviously that this thing should, last the testament of time. So then they come back to you for warranty on something if something,
Mm,
messes up. So it's a numbers game with it, but these guys, even if 500 to 1,000, it's still the same price. Once you get to 5 to 10,000, then yeah, maybe you're able to get a cut.
yeah.
But you start leveraging. Am I going to have 3,000 of these things sitting, here
That's
because the new point 2 came out, and it totally, all these is trash.
yep.
I can't use it anymore.
How bad does it
Um,
hit you when you're like a millimeter short on a bone?
Oh, it happens. It
I know it
happens,
happens.
100%. I can't say who I was having a conversation with, but I heard a new vehicle was coming out, and I
Hmm.
was about to make some stuff for it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to be using this and that." And I was like, "Oh, I was just talking about that bone this morning. I better change it,
Yep.
because they'll all be obsolete. If I do a run,
Mhm.
I get a run for X amount of months. This new one comes out. Okay, I only sold through 15% of it. The rest of it's all trash. The
Yeah.
project, I'm in the red.
Right.
You know.
So speaking of new things, tooling things, all that, what's down the pipe for Mod Speed Shop? Because last time you were on, you were still keeping it under your hat with the Everlast body.
Yeah. So the Everlast body, that's going to be kind of the only one that we're going to have right now.
Yep.
There's no buggy body coming, at least as of right now, until Horizon knows what they're doing with the buggy. I'm hearing
Right.
different things, but
I'm hearing
it's
several things.
it's one thing here or the other. But at the end of the day, there's only about maybe a handful of racers that are out there, and we
Yeah.
have to do major quantities, and we got to do a mold, and we got to do this and that, and for essentially a discontinued car,
Right.
the math doesn't math to do
No.
it. So it's not there for us. For the trucks, we were thinking about releasing a Lexan version. There are a couple production prototypes, and they're actually awesome.
Yep.
So people are like, hey, we're just going to wait for that. We were told that our molds that we currently made for the current body
Yep.
is not good enough to pull Lexan off of in a production setting. So they have to
I
heat the mold up so much
yep.
that it would deform it of how it's currently
Mm,
made. So they said, you're going to have to make a whole new mold. I'm like, I'm
you
not going to
know.
spend another 10 grand,
Yes. That's people don't
So,
realize tooling
and
is one of the biggest costs of a job.
yeah, so and then potentially it would cannibalize the current one that we have.
Hmm.
Um, so we're not doing it
Yeah.
as of right now. Could we do lower production runs later at a lower rate? Maybe, but the current manufacturer that we were at, they said we cannot do a production run for you, um, because we can't use this mold.
Wow.
So, and we're not going to do another mold. It's not in the cards. It's just not happening. So the ones we have now, they're a great body. They work awesome. No, they're not paintable. If you want a wrap, get a wrap.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it. Um, for that project.
I have a question for you that I've been meaning to ask you in person. I keep forgetting about it. I saw you do a video about your foams a couple months ago. Did you change your foams or?
Yeah, we went to a little bit softer compound. Um, they're not as much softer than I wanted them to be, but they're still really good.
Okay.
So we have a V2 foam that's out, a little bit softer than the original, and they've been working great. We won the 4-hour enduro with them.
Yep.
So the new
'Cause
foams are great. They hold on to the rims really well, and the just a good addition. Just a slightly different compound, but not nothing too crazy than the
'cause
original.
Joe 3 and I both need new foams. They're like gravel, like our because we're
Yeah,
like 2.5, 3 seasons on our foams. They're
yeah,
gone.
yeah.
So,
It's what happens. Well, luckily they're bead locks, so you just go and take it
yeah,
out, throw some new foams in, and it's good to go.
and that's the thing with fifth scale. People don't, people. If somebody asks you, well, what does a set of tires retail? Well, $290, but the rim and the foams are reusable for quite a while. Like,
Yeah, and it is, and you can get those deals like on modspeedshop.com if you
yeah.
get them where they're sets of them, we give you a price break.
Mhm.
We're able to work with you if you're at the track, we have special track pricing.
Yep.
So definitely when you come out, we support the racers. We're always there at all the major events that we can be at. So it can be cheaper than that.
It can
But
be, yeah.
then the other, I would say, good part of it is that, unless you're on a blue groove track, you can go multiple races on a set of tires,
Oh, yeah.
unlike that of maybe 8 scale or 10 scale, where they're doing a couple runs on a set and they're, all of them are trash. With fifth scale, you can reuse the rims, you can
Yep.
reuse the foams, realistically, a set of J-Con tires on Mod Speed Shop is $80,
Yep.
for just the rubber itself. So you can reuse things to make it more economical for you.
And and the tires work almost all the way down to slicks as well. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like an
they
8
do.
scale tire where you slightly get a 45 on the pin and you're done.
Yeah.
Dwayne just asked my next question. Do you have any release date on the puck system for the X-ray? Are you going to?
So two-wheel drive would come first.
Mhm.
We are measuring stuff now, to like where they're going to be on the machines this week.
Cool.
So
Cool.
stuff will be coming.
So we got you for about another 15 minutes or so. Enough about, well, not enough. I mean, it's so cool with what you're doing. You're constantly busy. You're never stopping. And yet, I'm guessing you're planning your wedding coming up. You proposed to Megan right after the Mini Z Worlds in France. That's awesome. I mean, everybody says that's the best move you've ever done in your life. um,
Zach is very quiet.
yeah,
I have a lot of things to say, and
I'm talking too
um,
much.
so let's hear about. So I don't know how you got started with Mod Live Media. So it was just you, and you started race directing, and then you're like, "Hey, I can set up this camera," or how did that go?
um, Yeah, Mod Live Media started from the fifth scale series that we do. Um, Nobody was really working with each other for the tracks. For fifth scale, it was dying. So I said, heck, I'll do it.
Yep.
Because fifth scale is like my hobby. I really love it. I love the people. It's like how racing was when I first started.
Hmm.
There wasn't really any clicks. It's very raw. It's a lot of fun. And the driving them is unlike any other sensation in RC. So that's fifth scale was very close to me. So I said, well, I can't let this die. So I ended up starting the series back in I think 2018, 2019, between a couple tracks. And, I had helped out Live RC at like Reedy Race, a couple different, I helped him out at like a Supercross event.
Yep.
I did helped out. I did DNC as a cameraman, just as a cameraman, nothing more to it. I just kind of showed up.
Yep.
And, but I would see how that would make people feel, by getting live coverage. Live coverage is very, very much a luxury, for RC. And it was realistically the only way to capture and to advertise, what they were doing. So I said, well, shoot, I'm obviously not able to afford to have Live RC come out to my, 50 entry fifth scale race that I'm
Right.
getting. And I'm like, I'm going to have to do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was trash for a year, just god awful. The audio, the video, there was no content, nobody could hear anything. um, it was terrible. And I don't know if any recordings of that still exist. I hope not. um, but it was terrible. So but we got into it, and I was just doing it myself. I would set it up, and it would just kind of run, with a fisheye camera, just
Yep.
a little webcam, and I was talking to actually my buddy Jake McGarvey, and sat down in his garage one night, and I ended up I had just bought like the one camera that I thought that, like, at first actually after the fisheye camera, I had a camera left over from MIP. It was a little about this big.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was I stole it from them, so sorry, Eustace. They weren't using it anymore. It was in a box collecting dust, and a tripod, and just a cheap $15 tripod.
Yep.
And then I started following cars, and I was like, oh, this is way better. This is cooler.
Yeah.
Well, then it was still terrible. So then I was like, okay, let me get this other. So I got this, Canon prosumer one. It's like $2,000. And I'm like, man, this is the last camera that I'll ever buy. And that was a mistake. Because now, like, that's the least of them of what we actually have.
Yep.
And I've got, 4 or 5 others just like it. And I got 2 super ones, and,
Mm-hmm.
tripods that cost $1,500 a piece. Um, and it's snowballed.
Yeah.
And it got better and better. And then, like, I had my buddy Dave from Coyote. It's like, hey, Matt, your stuff's looking pretty good. Can you come out and cover our race?
Yeah.
What would you charge me? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, uh, couple $100 and give me a pizza. Like, I don't know. Like, so I just kind of just showed up, just me and a 4-foot table, and I sat up, in the dust where he stores where he stored his banners,
Yep.
and, up in a corner, and just like there all weekend, had a fan on me, and I'm just following cars and doing it. And it took a long time to get where we're at. It was very much baby steps, very much, myself for a long time, just traveling to events and kind of getting out there, and picking up stuff along the way. But we didn't start out the way that we are, not from the equipment, not from the staff, not from anything. And it's very much snowballed, and we've had fun with it. But our main mission statement has always been, and why I started it, is just like the mod fifth scale event
Mm-hmm.
was, little big events don't have good coverage.
Right.
A lot of these people, where they are the heart of RC. The Roar Nationals, the Worlds, they're always going to have coverage. But
Yes.
none of those people actually pay for the hobby. I don't care really, whose feelings that hurts, but they don't. They are the advertising for the hobby. Um, they are the ones that you're like, man, these guys are fast. Like, this is crazy. But they don't pay for the hobby. A lot of those guys are getting stuff for free. They're doing this and that. But the ones that I want to make feel important are the guys that just got into it and this is their first big race and they're like, man, I'm getting an interview, or they get a picture of their car from Jason. And they're able to send it back to their folks at home that are watching. To me, that's the heart of it, and that I want them to feel special. And that's what I think that we've helped accomplish, over the years with the media. And you've seen a lot of others, because before it was just Live RC. Then
Mhm.
Mod Live Media popped up. Then Elite popped up.
Yep.
After us, I bunked with Danny after the the Florida Carpet Championships. He was their camera guy, and we shared a room together, and told him what I was up to, trying to spring up, where it would help bring more media to RC, more eyeballs
Right.
from Facebook, YouTube, help grow the hobby. And
Yep.
then Elite started slowly after that. And then you got the RC media guys in Australia. They're doing a good job.
Mhm.
And you've seen a lot of these guys, and everybody starts to level up too, right?
Yes.
Everybody starts to do this with each other. Everybody's kind of watching, and I think it's a good thing
Yep.
as far as the competition. But I was having a conversation with my fiance the other night, and I didn't make a post about it or nothing. But it's like, have we taken the media too far? You know, and
Yeah.
that's kind of my, well, not to the effect of that it's bad, but now
No.
that everybody expects it to be like that bad.
Right. Right.
Have we flown too close to the sun? And
Right.
that's kind of my thing, where have I done it to myself, where we've gotten it to this point where I'm like, I can't not have a designated announcer anymore. I can't have, no longer a photographer.
Mhm.
Um, because for myself, I feel like I'm diminishing the community with the coverage that we're able to provide. Because it is a lot of work, and to have a 3, 4, 5 man crew is a lot of money.
It is.
Um, so that's where kind of my own, thing that I'm battling with right now, just personally on
Right.
on the media side, is like, have we flown too close to the sun?
Yeah. Well,
Well,
but as long as you
I
keep getting your fee. Go ahead, Zach.
that's okay. So I mean, I think that that's a really great story and something that a lot of people don't understand, especially nowadays. Like, there's a lot of instant gratification going on, and people don't get to experience the grind, and they don't
Right.
get to experience like the suck that makes when you finally get to somewhere that's not sucky enjoyable, because a lot of people just think you start out like where you're at now, and very few, if any people at all, get to actually enjoy that, being at a top level. And so I think that's really great for people to hear. And I also think too, on the flip side of your point, did you fly too close to the sun? Well, maybe, but it allows for people that are willing to do a one or a two-man show, cater to maybe events that you wouldn't be good at, because you're going to be good at these really large events where you need extra coverage because there's a bunch of people. And there's a ton of those events in the US. There's, I mean, countless events that have 300 plus entries and 100, 200 dudes or
Yeah.
people. And they, there's a lot of track time and a lot of stuff going on, and we can't have one company cover all of them because there's just not enough to go. There's not enough of that company to go around to all these different events.
Yep.
Yeah, it's most definitely, and we do that. We do have the one or two man crew, a 2 man crew. I don't do anything one anymore. It's too much work. It's I physically I don't like to do it anymore. 10 to 15 hour days, and the coverage suffers.
Yep.
When you're following, and then you're doing this and that. That it's actually, the numbers really suffer.
Yep.
Um, so it's we do still offer those type of things. We talk to tracks and see what their budget is and see what we're able to do. Um, but like you said, with me, with that too close to the sun thing, I have gotten to the point now that I consider Jason, our photographer, like the other half of our coverage.
Yes.
It's gotten to that point where I feel like we're only half as good as we can be without that.
Mm-hmm.
And because you see, like the coverage from FTC to what was done at Hobby Action,
Mm-hmm.
is on two different levels, and then I have guys coming up to me because we have done, that kind of coverage before. They're like, hey, where are the photos? Where's this? We love your guys' shots. And I'm like, dude, I didn't have the budget to bring them out. And I feel bad saying
Yeah.
that, to people. And I tried to do it. I've got, and it's one of those things where like, it's like, for instance, Zach, if I ended up going and getting some, some wire and some leads, and I make it sound so, that it's that easy to do, but my leads aren't, I think my leads can be as good as DRCs. No, they're not going to be because you have a lot of experience with it and tricks of the trade. So my point being that a lot of people think that it's easy by like, I've got the camera that Jason has,
Mm-hmm.
he can teach me his settings, but I can go out there. I'm like, why does my stuff not look like his,
Yeah.
and why is it not that good? And I'm like, man. And then it gets to the point where like, this looks terrible, and because he's got 15, 20 years of experience in every facet. So for me, I tried to do a little bit of that. I have some experience in the, in the reporting realm and in the photography realm, but I cannot do what he does and still do the live coverage.
Right.
And I've tried it. I can institute David or Joe into the announcing side and say, hey, click these buttons and talk with Chris and everything. But I'm
Right.
still putting out fires. I'm dealing with customers. I'm doing this.
You're running
And
around like a chicken with your
I'm
head
running
cut off.
around like a chicken, just making sure that that thing stays solid and that it's smooth and that there's no audio issues. Because the minute that something slows down and there's pixelation, the minute that
Mm-hmm.
audio is terrible or somebody hears something, people start hounding you.
Yep.
They start getting mad. And I'm like, this is a free stream.
Yeah.
You ungrateful people. I'm
Yep.
like, Jesus Christ, give us a break.
Yep.
And
And
for me, yeah.
the amount of money just on internet alone is crazy.
Oh yeah, it's nuts, and getting the priority data and everything. But,
Have
just back
you
to that point where I'm like, if I can't do it well, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And I can't do anything half-assed. Like that's just me as a person. So I was talking to Jason about, I'm like, bro, I can't juggle the photos, dude. And he goes, Matt,
Yeah.
I can barely juggle the photos. And to that effect, the guys that are on the Mod Live Media crew, we've gotten it to a good 4 or 5 to do a really good live coverage. But
Yep.
it takes those people.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't substitute it. So somebody thinks, hey, I can go out there and do it with the camera and it be as good. It's not going to be. It's just telling you now. And it's not going to be
Yeah.
cheap if you're going to pay people.
Right.
And we don't make much money as it is, but it's
No.
still not cheap.
No.
So definitely, all those companies that are out there, like Live RC, Elite, the RC Media guys in Australia, and RCTV, guys do work, so definitely, support them,
Yep.
and they're trying.
I have a couple.
I've been
Sorry.
there.
Yeah, I have a couple more questions because you gotta go soon, don't you?
Oh yeah, I gotta go in probably about 15 minutes. I need to get out of
15.
here.
All right. So, what's next? Like, where are you traveling to for the next couple races? Because we mentioned the Vintage Clash, but do you have anything before that?
Um, before the Vintage Clash, I have my own mod race. It's going to be at Robinson RC Raceway for
Okay.
fifth scale. We will be live, not the full live coverage that you guys see at Hobby Action or
Mm-hmm.
at the Clash, or any of those, because we're not there to do that. We're there to run an event, media is second to third on the list of what we need to be doing there.
Right. So then it's that, and then Vintage Clash.
Vintage Clash, and then we have the hoodie race right
Yep.
after that at Islands. So we just got booked for that not too long ago. Tom called us up. Looks like X-Ray's making a big push in the U.S. So Tom wanted us there, and we had the weekend free. So I said, no problem, buddy. So we're going to be there for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's just a busy summer. You got Silver State coming
Yep.
up.
Yeah, we run the whole Silver State, everything for the fifth scale side,
Yeah.
from media to signups to track crew, watering, parts support, you name it. So we're mod and mod hobbies and mod live media are
Yeah.
taking care of everything like
Yeah.
that on the fifth scale side.
So yeah, I'm super excited for what you got coming up, and and I'm excited to do some of the announcing for the Vintage Clash as well.
Yeah.
There's gonna be so many people there. There's gonna be like Eustace is gonna be there, Bob Stormer, Jay Halsey, Joel Johnson, Pavitas, a bunch of people. It's gonna be a phenomenal event. It's sold out.
Yeah,
Last
it's crazy. What Drew Boyd and those guys have been doing for the
Mhm.
marketing on that event has been one of the best that I've ever seen.
Yep.
These guys are coming in hot. They have a passion for it. They're hitting up. I see their little waffles that they're doing and raising
Mhm.
money. I'm seeing this. They're reaching out and making contacts for, it's not a you don't want to create a race, you want to create an event.
Yep.
That's why people go, is for the event.
Right.
We're on the track for 20 minutes at
Right.
the end of the weekend, you know, and we're paying more than $1 a minute to be there,
Yep.
on the track. But you go there for the experience. You go there for, for the people, for your friends, for, who is there and what you can gain and the knowledge that you pull.
Yep.
Um, these guys have created an event, not just a race. And the
Absolutely.
race is just part of it.
And there's a
And
party at the casino after on Saturday and all that other
and
stuff. It's
this is going to be an event for the ages. It's going to be a lot of fun. We hope that we can bring that to the screen for all the viewers that can't be there. We'll have our full A staff on. I'll be there. Obviously, Chris, Megan, Shu, and Joe. We'll have the full A squad on to try and capture the moments for everybody online.
so I know I talked to you about classes you're running. Are you going to be running any vintage classes, or are you just going to run modern four wheel and
So I imagine I'm gonna try and get my four-wheel buggy. I have a double X4,
nice?
and I'm sure that the belts are dust right
Oh
now. So I'm
yeah,
gonna see if I can figure something out with that. And then if not, I do have my original truck. That was my first real RC car for racing, which is a double XT. Um,
nice.
and I still have it. So I probably will break that puppy out, put some modern electronics in it, and go and rip. So um, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Whether I race one or both, I'll be happy with just one.
Right.
And out there having fun. And that's the main thing. Is I think this race is going to be fun.
It
So
will.
it's going to be a good time.
So we haven't really talked about it because we've been talking about other fun things. This is DNC week. What are your predictions? Like, do you have any predictions? You've been to a couple ace, announced a few A scale events this year and at the end of last year. What are your predictions? Do you think we're going to get the European takeover, or do you think we're going to hold it down?
The Europeans have been wicked fast.
Very.
They for them, this is a motorsport,
Yep.
in every other part of the world, but here in the US, it's seemingly.
Hmm.
The US, they see it as a hobby. Everywhere else, they see it as a motorsport. And they've
Yep.
got designated mechanics, they've got a full on thing. And those guys, The only thing that I think that the Americans may have an advantage over is the roughness of the track.
Yep.
I think on the ones that they have where they never change the track layout and the things are like on-road tracks with tabletops.
Cement corners.
It's hard for Americans to drive on that because we don't experience that here.
Right.
So that's why you see us way down in the ranks of the worlds and stuff like that when they are on tracks like that. So I think essentially everything's more consolidated here. I think it definitely brings the two closer. I would say, that the Americans and the Euros are going to be more on level playing field. But I do know that last year, I believe Boots won 8 scale, Buggy. I know Barufalo's been up there. Canas has been fast. Obviously, there's Ungaro. I don't know if he's here. I haven't really looked through it all.
4 years in a row, he's not making it.
Yeah, so it's these guys are crazy fast. They're the best of the best in the world that you're going to see this weekend on Live RC's broadcast. So be sure to tune in. I'm hoping that they're able to get some, because it's raining here now. So, and I talked to some boys down there, and it should be raining all day tomorrow. So I think they're going to consolidate the program is what my thoughts are. I don't know, but it's not what it was or what it was last year.
Well,
so yeah.
Last I looked at the weather, it was supposed to be like an overnight thing, and I guess the rain is just growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, it's pouring outside right now, and I talked to my girl, and she's in Riverside, like 15 minutes from the track, and she's like, it is dumping out here.
Oh,
so
no.
I am, I'm gutted for those guys.
Yeah.
I was mentioning earlier to the boys here, I'm like trying to say to Joey, I'm like, bro, why don't you have like a baseball field sized tarp, that thing's stored in a sea container down there chilling, because that track, unfortunately, when rain comes down, it's a pool.
Right.
So they're going to have to be working it, and you can't get a tractor out there when it gets so soaked. And then when you step on the track, then you create little landmine footprints. And then you also need a lot of people out there to get it all off. So you're going to have to pump it.
Yep.
So I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, the racing's still going to be good. I think the track will probably be nice and awesome by Friday night, maybe Saturday.
Okay.
But because there doesn't look to be anything in the forecast. But what I do know about the dirt crew is they don't give up. So I know Joey will have the guys out there. Aaron, they're good dudes. I just feel I don't know. I'm gutted for them. It's you always look at the forecast. You got these races. You got all these dudes coming in, and you're just like your heart sinks because you're like, God, like why? So they always put on a good show. They're a good crew. That they're highly experienced. But I'm like, when I see Joey, I'll be like, bro, how do you find some sort of baseball tarp? That'll go over it.
We almost had one locally. One of the semi-pro, the AAA teams were selling stuff, and we almost had one for one of our local tracks, and it was like a couple $100 more than what they wanted to spend, and they bailed on it. I'm like, no, I'll put down the money, because it's a pure clay track. So when there's a little bit of moisture, it's slicker than snot. I'm looking at the weather for Paris right now, and oh, dude, so it's supposed to stop raining at midnight, and then it's going to sprinkle again from 5 a.m. to 7. Then it's going to be sunny, and then it's going to be more rain from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So it's like just when they get the track dry, it's going to rain a little more, and then it's clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you guys looked at the practice rankings for?
Yes.
I haven't really been keeping up too much.
That's okay. Do you want to guess whose X-ray is sitting in number 4 right now?
Dakota or Chase?
Who?
Cater.
Really?
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
number 4. Yeah, he's got the top. They're ranking off top 3 consecutive.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
nice.
really
That's good.
surprising. There's a lot, and this is only the one practice, but you also have Caden above Mason.
Yep.
Wow.
And you have like the top 10 is really interesting, and I'd even go up to the top 20 being rather interesting.
Yep.
There's a ton of, and this isn't buggy, electric buggy,
E-buggy.
but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a ton of I mean, I think it's gonna be a really interesting weekend to see how this plays out.
It's going to be good. And then whatever they practice on today is not going
It's
to be what it is for the rest of the weekend.
exactly
So, it's all going to change.
because
So
it's like, yeah,
it's going
go
to be
ahead.
cold. It's going to be real
Yeah.
cold.
I feel bad for Seth because he put it on top of Nitro Truck right before it started raining.
Ah,
But we're from
I'm gutted.
Minnesota. He's used to
Yeah,
it.
I'm gutted for those guys. I know the dirt guys put in a ton of work, and it's unfortunate that Mother Nature is fickle. So,
I mean, so we had a miniature ice storm today in Minnesota. So, Seth is used to this cold himself and he's used to running in the cold. So, you know, to win, I bet you top 3 cars. The only non-C Hub car will be Dakota Fend in the top 3 in Nitro Buggy. Other than that, it's going to be C Hub cars, I believe.
we'll
It's going to
see.
be
We'll see.
going to be Techno and Kyosho all day. Pillow ball.
I might I might try and venture out there on Friday, something like that. So, I don't know if I'll see him on the weekend, but maybe Friday, maybe Sunday, something like that. Watch some mains if I can. Go and see the guys, say hello. But it's you know, yeah, people were asking us, they're like, "Hey, are you covering DNC? Are you covering DNC?" Um, and I'm like, man, no, we're not. It would be an honor to do it, but man,
Mhm.
would it be a lot of work? Those events are grueling.
You would
So
need a world's level staff.
yeah, you need a lot of people. It's a lot of money to do a coverage like that. My hat's off to Live RC,
Mhm.
because I know they're coming from Wisconsin.
Mhm.
So, bear with them. I know people are like, "Oh, why is it pixelated?" Bear with them. I'm sure they'll get it. They'll get it going. But it's a lot of stress, a lot of long hours. And the best of luck
Yeah.
to you. I'm gonna be working on the shop and getting rest and going to see my girl and
Yeah.
but we'll be back out again. More race coverage coming your way. Our next major race coverage will be the Clash of Champions at Hoosier, and then right after that will be Hoodie. We're gonna have A squads there for it,
Mhm.
so it should be good. But I gotta peace out. I gotta get out of here. I have some dinner plans with family.
Well, Matt,
Um,
we
but
really
thank you
appreciate you
so
coming on.
much, guys, for having me on.
Yeah. We appreciate you coming on, and I'm excited to see what comes for the future with Mod Speed Shop and your brick and mortar and Mod Live Media. So, yeah, we'll see you at the Vintage Clash of Champions in a few weeks.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to all the viewers too. You guys are amazing. Support this guy. His podcast is amazing. Support DRC. He's always been a huge
Yeah.
supporter of the media and goes well above and beyond. And I know he's volunteering his time too for all the Roar stuff. So,
Yeah.
best of luck to you guys. Thank you, Joe. I'll see you. I'll see you in a few weeks, my buddy,
Yeah.
and you'll see his lovely face on the broadcast.
Yep. Definitely. All right. Have a good one, Matt. Zach and I are going to keep going for another few minutes.
See you, man.
Later, guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, Matt Olson. It's always awesome to have him with us. So yeah, he's constantly busy. I bet you I bet him just working on his shop over the weekend is just gonna be so relaxing, so much of a relief for him that he doesn't have to be somewhere, all that stuff. Let's catch up to the chat. Larry Tom saying Shu has a photographic eye. Lee says I'm a great announcer. Well, I appreciate that. And Derek Relaford says I'm the best. Brandon says, see it Silver State, and he wishes I could make it. I wish I could make it too. They bumped it up a week, and I cannot make it that week. So Zach, we don't have a ton of time left.
Right. The
I
Roar
want to talk about
Nationals on road.
Roar Nationals. I want to talk about TTIC.
Right.
So go for the Roar Nationals first.
Okay, so would anyone like to guess what the second biggest class at the Roar Nationals is? By
You
4
told
less
me.
entries than the most popular class. That's right. It's my favorite class, modified touring.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Sorry, I get really excited about that because I've been trying to build the class and show people like you don't have to be Sam Isaacs and Kevin Hebert to go run
No.
the class. You could just be like a regular person that can wheel the car, and then it's a lot more fun. And you also don't have to play like Motor and Batter of the Week and buy all this stuff all the time.
Yes.
Um,
I think that's the
and
biggest thing. It's, like myself, I'm going to be in the C main regardless. Now, do I want to be in the C main playing motor and battery games, or do I want to be in a C main and modified while, making myself a better driver?
well, and I think like there's a lot of things that people think about mod, and like I think it's just a lack of actually doing it.
Yep.
And with stock, I've run stock, 15 years. And let me
Mm-hmm.
tell you, the amount of times that I thought I was in the C main
Yeah.
because I didn't have the hot motor and battery is most of the time. And
Yep.
most of the time I was incorrect. Most of the time it was me, a little on the car sometimes.
If you
The,
had the
the
hot,
motor battery,
if you had the hot motor and battery, you would have been in the B main.
right. Exactly. But when you get to the back of that A main and you're like, my shit don't go like that, and it's like, look, you put a 5.0 in, it'll go just fine.
So the
Um,
last
yeah.
the last big A main I made was the 2023 NCTS stock A main at Island Speedway. And I bumped into that number 10 position, and we had AAA mains.
And
And
how many times did you have to pull over?
it should have only been once, but I crashed. So it was twice for Tyler Jones, I believe, each time. The oval Tyler.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm excited for the Roar Nationals picking up mod touring car really picking up. I really think it's a good thing. Another thing Roar themselves did, they made a really good move this week. They combined the electric and the nitro A scale nats. Dude, I'm getting so sick of these fucking trolls. I'm gonna say it right now. Anytime Roar puts down anything on Facebook, you got guys wanting to go scorched earth. I see guys saying, I see guys constantly saying, like, I quit racing because of Roar. Really? Was it because of Roar? Was it really, or were you just a whiny crybaby loser? Kyle's saying it looks like they're going to have a good two-wheel mod class at Dollar this weekend. I'd love to race it, but I'm already at 3 classes.
See, I feel like we need rules, and we need a governing body for RC.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
we can't, like, what so many things. Like we're a mess now when we have like some rules
Yeah.
that they work good, but they could work better.
Yep.
And instead of people saying, you know what, these I'm kind of struggling with this Roar thing, like what let me go talk to Roar and see what's going on. And like, maybe I could lend a hand, or maybe like, hey, what's the problem? We don't have like, this isn't a perfect system, but I really like RC, and I appreciate that I can go race a class and not have to race against somebody unfairly, that isn't blatantly cheating. Like,
Right.
let's support that and try to make it better. Even if it's just dollars, you're $40 a year
Yeah.
and not your time.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's
I
great.
put in my
That's what
40 bucks a year and I vote.
right. And we need people to help, and we need people to volunteer. And I say we because I'm the Rural Region 5 director. And you know what? I run a business, and I got a wife, and I got a daughter, and I got family, and I got to go to the gym because I'm a psychopath and I got to work out. Um, and I want to go race too. Um, and I'm doing home improvement projects, and I've got like a bazillion things going on, and I find time to do this to make sure that people in our area, in my area, Region 5,
Mm-hmm.
can understand that. And when people like say, well, why should I support Roar? I'm like, well, how about you're racing the same class as the dude on the track with you? Because that's a
Yeah.
pretty good reason. And like we have all these rules so that like, and they're not perfect, and they're not, all these things. But if you take them genuinely and you just go race, you're like, okay, cool. I can take this car and I can get this motor and this battery, and we can put these tires on it with this body, all the performance parts, and I know that this is going to be pretty close to what the guy next to me has
Yep.
within the rules. And then we can go race fair.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. There's yeah. I keep thinking about doing the Region 7 deal, but oh man.
Quit being a pussy. Just do
Like
it.
I said, I'm too
Just do it. Just do it.
I'm
Who
too petty.
cares?
I'm too
Who cares? Do you
I'm
do you
too
have
petty.
somebody now?
No. I'm too
Okay,
petty of
do
a
it.
human being.
Who cares? Do it.
Yeah. Last week, TITC ran.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Was that in Thailand?
It was. It was in. I think it was in Bangkok.
Yeah, another reason I want to go to Thailand. I want add another reason. I
I
mean,
mean, I'm
not
not going to
just for the
say this
lady boys,
on
not
the.
just for the lady boys. I'm gonna beat you to the punch.
All right. All right.
No, I mean,
Uh,
I want to go see fights in the stadiums. I want to do a Thai fight for a bucket of beers. I want to do all that fun stuff. But then
yeah.
the RV
So
facility, was that at the same facility that they ran the 2010 Worlds at? I believe it was. And
I
like
don't
they have
know.
like a
RC
big,
Addict.
yeah, I think they have like a fishing pond as well. It's just a ridiculous facility. It almost makes Yachtaby look amateurish.
That's an interesting way to say that.
Not amateurish. You're right.
No, the way you pronounce Yatabi.
Uh, so I've heard it from,
I know. But that's how
yeah,
us in the Midwest say it.
I know. I used to say it like that for so many years, and I got tired of being corrected.
Yeah.
So,
Not me.
anyways,
Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting.
I did not watch any of the coverage.
Well, there wasn't a ton to watch.
Yep.
So they had coverage. So it was 3 static cameras.
Okay.
The announcer spoke English, and he called some traffic.
Okay.
It was it was rough. There was a ton of entries. I was a little disappointed in the coverage. Orlowski won.
So Orlovsky's winning with that Schumacher. Everybody's doing this innovative stuff, but Schumacher, for better or worse, they're on the old. I don't know if old school platform is the correct way to say it.
It's not, because so you have like, I think traditional would be the right
Traditional,
way to say it.
yes, that is a great way to say it. They're on a
And it's
traditional.
traditional. It's not like the T416, which was the traditional for a long time,
Yes.
like that style. So it's the new traditional, if you will.
Okay.
It's the automatics with shocks
Yep.
is more or less the MMX or even the 800R. Same difference with not really, but with shocks is essentially
Mhm.
what that is. Um, and the car works with Orlowski piloting it. It really works. Now the thing we don't have is we have like one other really talented guy, I think, racing the Schumacher, and then we have like you know JQ racing the Schumacher,
Uh,
um,
wasn't he in
which
the
is
top 40? I mean, he wasn't.
he did pretty good.
Yeah.
So and I'm sure there's some other guys in there that race the Schumacher, but you have this weird thing where Schumacher doesn't have the infrastructure to support this car like X-Ray does, or like Automatics does, or whatever. They don't like, or even like you have the smaller brands in 8 scale. So we'll bring it
Yep.
back to like the Mayako crew. Like, you know what? They might only have 1 or 2 tenths,
Yep.
but you go over there and they're at every race,
Mm-hmm.
more or less, and they've got a crew of guys that rotate in and out, and they're always, I assume, helpful. I'm not really. I talk to the macro guys, but I don't really, know this for all the events. But I assume
My
that they're
Afro
helpful.
guys I know are helpful. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they're there, and they offer setup, and they do. They got parts in that. Schumacher doesn't even have that, and they've been around forever. Like
I
what? And I don't know that about that at TITC, but in the States, that's what's going on.
I think they're dumping so much money into just drivers, but also think about the size of a tire manufacturer. Schumacher is alone in the UK. They almost every track in the UK, in Europe, period, runs a Schumacher spec tire.
Well, let
You
me
know,
break that down for you, Joe. It's pretty easy to manufacture a tire. Like
yeah,
overall, like I'm not, comparatively to a kit,
yes,
it's pretty
but
easy. And it's hard to mess it up. Like you glue it on the rim or it comes pre-glued and you put it on the car and you go run it. Like you can tune it a little bit, but that's like the extent of it. With the kit, you need the infrastructure behind it because chances that you're going to break a tire are like non-existent.
so
You have some manufacturing defects and you might run over something to rip a tire, but like most of the time you don't need part support for tires. You just pull out another set of tires when those wear
right.
out and you're good to go.
So sorry, I keep yawning. Like I said, I've had a rough few days before we started recording that we're not going to get it too on here, but so I was part of Schumacher's their beginning resurgence. Okay. A lot of people don't remember that from probably 1998 to 2010, Schumacher didn't have really shit going on with anything. They had a ready to run monster truck at one point. They quit racing almost. And then in 2010, they're like, all right, we're going to make a push. And then I got onto their team and started, me and a local guy, John Hutner, were really pushing the Schumacher stuff until after a couple of years, I couldn't take it anymore because I've said this before. Well, back in 2010, 2011, we were running on looser dirt. And on looser dirt, I had the Cat SX2, one of the best wheelers I've ever had on loose dirt. Had great grip, great speed out of the corner. It was a very balanced car. It was a great car. I had the Cat SV2. It was their two-wheel platform, one of the first mid-motor. Well, not really. I mean, there was a Centro and there was the there was the why can't I think of it, is like the X60, the X Factor.
Mm-hmm.
There were those cars, but no real mid motor. That car was the biggest piece of crap I've ever driven in my life. So I couldn't hang on anymore, but seeing what they do with limited resources and how they put it in, to me, it makes sense. You know, Schumacher has a pretty big presence for the limited resources that they actually have.
I don't think they have limited resources. I just don't think they put like the
It's
resources.
pretty
I know
small.
they're not AE, but like, yeah, but they're bigger than Monaco.
Yeah. Well, that's not hard to do.
I
And we were
That's what I'm
talking
saying. You can send a couple guys, two people, with a box of parts and some cars to major events. Like
that's
you're
true.
not talking about a ton of money. It's less than $2,000 for the event majority of the time.
Yeah.
That's for all the route travel, food and board.
Yep.
But I mean, you got to pay these people too. So like that's
Yeah.
but
But yeah, I get what you're saying. And we were actually talking, it's in my notes about a potential partnership between Mayako and
oh,
Schumacher.
thank you because I forgot about this. Okay,
Well, it makes sense because Schumacher is known to be prototyping A scale stuff. And
so go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, I was going to say they potentially hit that wall that they can't get past. But Mayako already has a platform that they could continue to develop with their knowledge and their engineers.
So you have three scenarios as I see it.
Okay.
You have, and maybe the most fun of all these is an
Yeah.
acquisition.
Yep.
So you have Schumacher acquiring Mayako,
Yep.
which would be really interesting.
Yep.
You would like what would happen? Would would they stay the same? Would they stay separate entities, but they're both owned by Schumacher? Would
Tough.
Monaco become? And I'm assuming Schumacher buys Monaco, not the other way around. Would Monaco become Schumacher?
Yep.
Does JQ get fired immediately, or does he just get his phone taken away?
I don't
Like
know. Here's the
so
deal.
many interesting things.
Yes. I kind of wonder if Schumacher would. So a lot of people don't realize when Durango was around, they bought the design for their initial wheeler from Serpent. Okay. For the longest time, Andrew Mowry at the first MMR, Andrew Mowry had Billy Fisher's Serpent prototype hanging on his wall. And it was the prototype and it still had the NIM cells in it. It was really cool. But that car never came to be in production as a Serpent. But Durango bought that design and they called it the Durango DX410, whatever they did. It was 100% that Serpent. I could see Schumacher potentially doing something like that, or maybe they distribute plenty of things between Core RC, between J Concepts, I believe Nasram. They might be getting into the Coyote game. I'm not sure.
Well, they got El Saram right now.
Yeah, Elsaram. What?
Well, Nasram's the batteries.
Yeah, they did have Nasrams. They
I
did.
think
I
they're
don't know if they
going
still do.
Intellect now.
Yeah, I don't know. But they do distribute other products. They could very well potential to just be a distributor for Shuma or for Mayako.
So that's where you have your other two partnership or your other two options come in. One can be a distributor. You know, they work together to make the brands bigger. And the other thing would be a partnership. So the two companies remain separate and they do their own things, but Schumacher now becomes, this the 8 scale arm, or excuse me, Macher becomes the 8 scale arm of Schumacher.
Mhm.
Where Orlowski's in, like, hey, you're gonna drive this, and Matteo, and like,
Yeah.
or Mattia, or whatever, and you have this, and then this back and forth. So you have, what would be the Monaco drivers say, hey, you're gonna run the Schumacher 10 scale cars now.
Mhm.
Um, and you have, like, back in the day when you had um I'm blanking
Well,
on brands, but
well,
similar situation.
Team Associated in Yokomo back in the day of two-wheel and four-wheel when Team Associated didn't have a wheeler.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really cool options there, and I think that they're all fun and all interesting, and all could be a fat goose egg, or
Mhm.
we could have like mid silly season craziness from manufacturers.
I'm still holding out hope that A-Main Hobbies bought, Team Associated. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
think
know.
that merger's happening like we all thought it was gonna. Well, I thought it was. I can't say all.
I feel
I
like
was
it's
convinced of it.
I feel like it's more of a hostile takeover.
Well, I don't know. Team
It's fail, or like
Associated,
a, yeah.
they came out with that metallic kit like right as we are getting off the last episode. I'm like, why? Why? I mean, I get it. They're playing on the vintage heartstrings and the hardcores are gonna buy it, but why? I mean, we're waiting for a TC8, Zach.
I am told next week. That's not true. I read somewhere, I don't even remember now. Next week. So,
Well, or are
and
you sure it wasn't 2 weeks?
I heard April Fool's. So,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, they keep just oops. I accidentally put Brandon's comment up there because I'm moving my cursor around. But yeah, I don't know, man. I really hope that Team Associated straightens up their releases, gets out the TC8, gets out the B7.1, gets out a new wheeler, gets out an A scale. There's right there. If you want to keep up with the racing, that all these things need to happen in 2025. They really
so
do.
let's talk about the new car at, well, one of the new cars at TITC, and one of the biggest moves of silly season would be Bruno going to Infinity
Yep.
and not winning at
Yeah.
TITC, his debut race.
Right.
So,
Well,
what's your opinion about that?
my opinion is I kind of wonder, this is going to sound wrong because Tebow figured it out on his own eventually. But a lot of people don't remember when Tebow's dad went away and Tebow was alone and he fell hard. 'Cause he had all the skill in the world, but he had zero knowledge on setup and all that. And I think he might have thought he knows more than he actually does. And I think it might be starting to bite him. Or maybe he
So,
just simply needs more time.
uh, it's not the first thing, because you have Francesco being his mechanic.
Yeah.
He designed the X-ray car and was his mechanic at X-ray. Um, the same at Infinity. So, and Bruno's a very sharp guy. I don't know how much he knows about setup.
Yeah.
He knows a lot about driving. I tell you, he's all about that
Yeah.
driving though.
Where did he finish?
Second,
Well, come on. I mean,
well,
or
it wasn't
lost.
even a close second.
Okay. But to be
It
fair,
wasn't that far, but
every 10 scale carpet race and every single on-road touring car race, even though it's against a lot of things, I'm picking Orlovsky to win every single time because he's going to win until he proves me wrong, is the way I look at it. It's like I don't see, I don't sit there and kick it around in my head. Whoa, Michael could come back from a deficit and potentially win this. No, in my head, he's always on the front of the grid. So, he's weirdly not underrated, but underappreciated, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I
You
I
know
know
what?
what you mean.
A great way. It's the on-road version of JCC versus Ungaro.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, but the rules are reversed because
Mm-hmm.
it was the underappreciated one, and Ungaro is the appreciated one. And in this
Yep.
one, Orlowski's winning. Not that JCC can't. He's
Right. Right.
very capable driver, but Ungaro's the favorite going into any event Ungaro's at.
Yep.
Um, and I feel like the same is said for Orlowski, but he's not like, I don't know. So I feel like Bruno did a good job for his first time out. I bet it was eye-opening in some things that they needed to do. Because if we're talking driver to driver, there's
Yep.
probably not a better driver than Bruno. And I say that seeing them both firsthand at the Worlds, like, I think Bruno's the better driver. Um, and I don't know how to describe that, but he like just understands where he can go faster on the track.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. I don't know, man. They're too damn close. They're too damn close.
But I think what would really be a fun test is we give them both the same car.
Yeah. And it depends on what you give them. I think if you give Bruno
It would have to
Schumacher,
be.
I think he'd fall flat on his face, and vice versa. If you give Orlovsky an X-ray or an Infinity, he'll fall flat on his face.
They both get a new TC8.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens.
Exactly. All right, man. It's getting late with that one. We got to end this thing. We've been going for an hour 40 plus. So,
Yeah.
all right.
All right.
Well, thanks for coming on, Zach. And again, Matt, if you're watching, big thanks for coming on this episode. Bad news. I forgot to mention this. Brian Dunbar passed away, one of the legends. It sucks. I was looking forward to racing with him at the Vintage Clash. It was cool seeing him race at the regular Clash of Champions. Repping that Yokomo, he was one of the last people in the country, that was repping the Yokomo at a high level. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, I guess just one night passed away in his sleep. So, yeah, man, rest in peace, Brian. So, on that crappy note, we're gonna end this thing. I'm Joe Zer Jr., and with me has been my co-host Zach Donathan, and we've ran out of talent. Have a good night, guys.